Well, on The Real Housewives of Orange County this week, the show opens with the Dubrows perched up high in their penthouse. The same one that Heather doesn't poop in, shower in, or get dressed in. So now she's just calling it the world's most expensive closet. She tells Terry all about flag football and the fact that half of the girls aren't talking to the other half of the girls, and that ever since he had that stroke, she just doesn't have time for that petty behavior. Then Tamra, Emily, and Gina go and pick up Katie and Jen with two N's, and they head out to a local dive bar. They all cheers with mucus-free espresso martinis. And then Katie drops insider knowledge all about those paparazzi pictures last year, the ones that the women accused Heather of staging. Katie says that she is very good friends with the guy who's in charge of all the paparazzi pics, and that he confirmed that those pictures were indeed staged. And then after that, Katie told the ladies about the fact that she somehow got tagged in Heather's birthday post. Even though they cut back to a scene at a nail shop where Katie actually confronted Heather about it, and Heather said that it just must have been an accident. But Katie is clearly not buying it, and so she's bringing it up again. The ladies are all listening to Katie and getting increasingly stressed for her. Everybody's worried that Heather's gonna come for Katie, especially Gina. Then Victoria goes over to Shannon's to discuss the Tres Amigas and her staph infection. The Tres Amigas have become the Dos Amigas, and they're trying to figure out how to make it work. They say they're excited, but they are secretly stressed because Tamra's not going to be there, and they're already feeling the effect of it. Mind you, this all went down right after Shannon's drunken car crash. And since that Tres Amigas show was so alcohol-centric, Tamra didn't think it was smart to move forward with it, which was clearly the right decision, but those other two didn't agree at all. And Vicky goes on to say that Tamra has vinegar in her veins and a black heart. After a quick chat with their producer, Shannon goes on to tell Vicky that John Jansen is suing her for $75,000, which was money that she used for a facelift. Vicky is completely shocked. She says to Shannon, "He doesn't work, right?" And Shannon says, "I don't know if he has a job right now." And Vicky calls him a very bad man. And then she looks at Shannon and asks her if her boobs are two different sizes. Shannon said yes and tried to downplay it, but I can guarantee you that she made an appointment to have those oranges evened out as soon as Vicky left. Then we're over at Jen and Ryan's house where they're packing for Vegas, and she's stressing out about taking pictures and posting them because she doesn't want the other women to judge her. She tells Ryan about Emily's latest jab and goes on to say that she doesn't think that if Emily fell on hard times, that Emily would be getting even half the shit that she is. Then Ryan goes full West Coast Louie and says, "Listen, bank accounts come and go, but being rich in your soul and in your spirit, who you are as a person," and I am dying because while what he is saying is absolutely true, when the message comes from someone who isn't living in their truth, it just falls flat. And Jen fills us in on the fact that that yoga studio of hers actually owes thousands of dollars in back rent, all because they didn't have a written lease. Then we go to dinner at Javier's with Katie and her husband. She tells him all about the big golf day she's planning and the fact that she was planning on calling it drinking and driving, but that when she ran that one by the ladies, it fell flat because of Shannon's situation. Katie goes on to say that she's known for putting her foot in her mouth and that this was one of the worst, but quite frankly, I thought it was hilarious. And if we can't laugh at ourselves, then we haven't healed. Then we're over at Gina's and Katie comes for a visit. Gina explains that Travis is now living down the street. She says she's really missing Trav, but you know that this whole thing was just contrived for a storyline. She didn't have a storyline, so it became this split. This whole split is just a stunt to keep her on the show. Gina tells Katie, "It feels like we broke up." But they didn't. Then Emily goes over to Tamra's house where we learn that Tamra's mom has officially moved out of the casita. Emily tells Tamra that she wants some TCH, but she really meant THC. These two are officially friends now, and I am here for it. And also, isn't Emily just the most beautiful? Such a stunner. Tamra tells Emily that she's shocked that Gina seems to have a problem with their new budding friendship. Emily agrees, but then Tamra says, but she's spending a lot of time with Katie lately. Then over at Gina's place, she brings up the paparazzi situation to Katie and says that Heather is not going to be happy if she knows that you're bringing this up again. Meanwhile, all the other women are huddling around talking about the paparazzi situation and how much Heather loves the attention of the media. Gina finally pops up and says, "You guys can say what you want, but I'm telling you, Heather is gonna be pissed." And then she goes on to tell Katie that if she doesn't tell Heather what she's been saying, then she will. Then we cut to a FaceTime call between Gina and Emily where they are doing exactly what Jen feared and talking shit about her. And in that FaceTime call, we found out that Emily's dog is named Togo. And I'm just wondering if that dog was named after my favorite sandwich shop, because if it was, I get it. Togo's is that good. Worth naming your dog after. Then we're at Katie's golf event where everyone's finally talking about golf balls instead of John Jansen's balls. And no, I didn't say that. Katie did. Gina confides in Heather that Trav broke up with her last night, but I still don't believe it. Then everyone grabs a putter and tries to get their balls in the hole. Everyone expects Katie to do the best because she's the golf pro, but it's my beautiful Emily that ends up taking top honors, and I can't say I'm surprised. In an attempt to make peace, Katie told Heather that she ordered her some hot wieners, which Heather was happy to hear, but only moments later, Tamra filled Heather in on everything that Katie'd been saying. That Heather calls the paparazzi when she goes back and that she has proof of it, and Heather says, "Show me the proof." And Tamra says, "I already asked for it. She showed me nothing." Then Katie again brings up the paparazzi situation to the other ladies at the party. She repeats the information about her friend running the whole thing and that he says it's all true. And then she goes on to say that Heather reached out to 2 of her friends, all in an attempt to gather information on her, one of them being Cynthia Bailey. And Katie says she's just trying to understand why and figure out what's really going on. The other ladies all wish her the best, but then they say this day is going to be a big learning lesson for her. So then Katie walks over to Heather and asks if she can have a minute. She goes on to say, "I feel like there's something looming between us." And Heather says, "There's nothing looming between us, but I've heard that you've been saying all kinds of crazy shit about me." Katie says, "It started at Sutton's party when you guys completely blanked me after I know that you knew who I was by peeping us on Instagram." And Heather says, "I have no recollection of that." And Katie says, "And then you went to 2 of my friends and tried to get information on me." And Heather says, "You are wrong." Then Heather in confessional says, "I've been nothing but nice to Katie. I barely know her. She's barely a blip on my radar." Then Katie says, "Yeah, I came into this group knowing that you lied. My dear friend runs Paparazzi for all the publications." And Heather says, "Show me the proof, Katie." And Katie says, "I have a screenshot of the text." And Heather says, "Great. I'm going to tell you something. I've never called Paparazzi in my life." And Katie says, "So he lied?" And Heather says, "I don't know who you're talking about." Then Shannon comes running over and asks the other girls, "Why did you tell her?" And Tamra said, "I told her because I thought that she needed to know." Then they all overhear Heather say, "On the lives of my children, I have never called the paparazzi." And they all audibly gasp. Poor Gina is dying inside. And then Katie repeats it again. "I knew coming into this group that you were a liar." And Heather says, "Stop saying the word lie because I didn't lie." Then Heather says, "You're making a mountain out of a molehill, and that's what's bothering me." Heather says to the camera, "I'm not digging things up on Katie. Katie's digging things up on me." Katie asks Heather if there are things that she's harboring against her, and Heather says, "Harboring against you? I don't even know you. And quite frankly, now I'm not sure that I want to." And Katie says, "Well, okay, that's your choice." Then Heather says, "I don't call paparazzi, but Katie has them by first name on a text message. This girl is obsessed with me. It's crazy." But what do you think? Do you believe that Travis and Gina have actually broken up? Comment below and let me know.